Hi, this is Emily Saliers from Indigo Girls, and you're listening to Rainbow Country.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the persons appearing on the program.
Today on Rainbow Country, coverage of the 47th Toronto International Film Festival continues. And today I catch up with the queer filmmakers from the Canadian dramedy, Rosie, and queer film, The People's Joker, which, by the way, got pulled after its first public screening due to copyright infringements. All that and more on episode 319, so stay tuned for Gay Talk Radio right here on Rainbow Country.
Hi, I'm Simone Denny.
Hi, I'm Mayor John Tory.
I'm Joey Lamar, best-selling author of Mambo Lips and Salsa Hips. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Well, hello and welcome to a brand new journey through Rainbow Country. As I like to call it, a little gay radio show working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond. And as always, I am your tour guide through Rainbow Country. I'm producer and host, Mark Tara. By the way, Rainbow Country originates from CIUT FM in Toronto and now proudly in syndication on 12 outlets across Canada, from coast to coast to coast. The Yukon, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the east coast of Canada in Newfoundland, Ontario, even down to Buffalo, New York, and online. Well, thanks to you tuning in, streaming, downloading, but ultimately listening. Together we continue to build Rainbow Country into a nationally syndicated gay radio show, a #1 LGBT podcast on Podomatic.com's Gay and Lesbian chart, as well as being recognized as Canada's #2 LGBT podcast on Feedspot.com. So today, coverage of TIFF 2022 continues. And on this episode, a spotlight on 2 LGBT films. Rosie, the feature film debut from Métis writer, director, and actor Gail Maurice. A little bit about Rosie. The film brings us to the fringes of 1980s Montreal, as seen through the eyes of a sweet and suddenly orphaned Indigenous girl. During the festival, I caught up with writer, director, and co-producer Gail Maurice, as well as actor and co-producer Melanie Bray. Together, they're going to fill us in on all things Rosie. Plus, The People's Joker from Emmy-nominated filmmaker Vera Drew. A bit about that movie. An aspiring clown grappling with her gender identity combats a caped crusader. So here's the deal with The People's Joker. After the film's first public screening, it got pulled from TIFF due to copyright infringements. The team behind The People's Joker, a queer coming-of-age Joker original tale, received a cease and desist letter from Warner Brothers after the film's screening. Plus, later on in the hour, Festival Street, where I caught up with some film goers to find out what TIFF means to them. Plus, in hour 2, music from LGBT artists, independent artists, voices that we've come to know and love in classic disco, classic 80s, classic house. And on this episode, I'm featuring some classic funk, some East Coast Killa Fiddler, and more. All that lies ahead as we start off this journey 319 through Rainbow Country, and our first stop, what I'm calling the Rainbow Country School for Canadian Gay History. And today's lesson, from activist and author Tim McCaskill, Canada's LGBT community of the 1970s.
In the 60s, before the internet, to find each other, queer people needed to actually get together in real space and real time. Since most places didn't tolerate our kind, depending on where you were, your options could be limited. Large cities might have a few specialized commercial spaces, but in the absence of those, it was basically public washrooms, parks, or house parties. They all had their downsides. Commercial spaces required you to spend money, and that's one of the reasons why they were mostly for men. Even in places as big as Toronto, there was seldom more than one lesbian bar at a time. Lesbians earned about 60% of the male wage and probably had more dependents. The economy just wasn't there. The old adage was, gay men go to restaurants, lesbians hold potlucks. Washrooms and parks were also pretty much boys only and could be dangerous, plus parks in the Canadian winter, not so good. You could freeze your willy off. House parties, you needed to know somebody, or know somebody who knew somebody, and so on, and be invited. In terms of commercial life, Montreal had led the pack, developing a sin city reputation during Prohibition in the US in the 1930s. And where there's sin, there's always a place for us. Toronto the Good and Vancouver took a bit longer, but in 1974, Toronto had enough anonymity and a critical mass to produce a small commercial scene. At first, it was mostly straight bars where we were tolerated in a corner as long as we behaved. Next came a few straight-owned venues that served gay clientele. By the mid-70s, a new class of gay entrepreneurs emerged and started to open up on Church Street where rents were cheaper. But not everybody lived in Toronto or Montreal. In smaller centres, where businesses couldn't meet community needs, the lesbian and gay liberation movement of the 70s came up with a new model. Defy economics and do it for ourselves. We might not have a lot of capital, but we did have free labour. For example, the Lesbian Organization of Toronto established a non-profit community centre in a ramshackle old Victorian house in 1977. It held dances and brunches and drop-ins and provided meeting spaces and a coffee house and hosted a phone line for a whole generation of women. Loot, as it was known, was following a strategy already developed elsewhere. In Saskatoon, the Zodiac Friendship Society opened its community centre in 1973. Edmonton and Calgary soon followed suit. HALO, the Homophile Association of London, Ontario, started in 1974, and the Halifax Gay Alliance for Equality first began running dances in the Turret in 1976 and later turned that into a community centre. By the end of the decade, there was a network of lesbian and gay groups providing community spaces in dozens of medium-sized centres across Canada, volunteer-run and community-controlled. This is Tim McCaskill, a gay liberation dinosaur from another planet and author of Queer Progress.
Hi, everybody. This is Gino Vanelli. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
So during the Toronto International Film Festival, there are screenings, there are industry meetings, there are interviews happening, there are crowds and people coming and going. And this year was the first year back in person 100%. And I was able to catch up with some filmmakers in person in the Media Lounge. Up next, my in-person interview with the queer filmmakers of the new Canadian queer movie, Rosie.
Tonight, we thank you. I am so humble and so grateful to be here this evening.
I'm extremely excited to be here. Thank you all for holy shit, there's a lot of y'all.
I'm very proud to be here tonight, and I'm so grateful that you joined us.
Don't stop till you get enough.
Hello, Toronto! Happy Halloween, Michael.
Muchas gracias. Toronto. the best of them all.
If you ever feel love, the best place to watch things is TIFF.
I want to thank Toronto because you have always honored, celebrated, exalted female directors.
The warmth and the love that you gave me is something I will never forget in my life.
It's so exciting to be here at Toronto in this gorgeous theater.
This is just like Christmas Day.
Thanks to you for coming.
This is truly a very special evening for me.
This is why we do what we do, you know.
I love this festival and it's an honor to be back.
Behind me is what we call society, what we see in there every day and what we have on screen. Let's keep on doing movies about us. We're making pictures about what's happening today in society. Thank you for coming.
Gail Maurice, hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, I'm fantastic, and you?
I am well. Melanie Bray.
C'est moi.
Bonjour, comment ça va?
Ça va bien, merci.
Ah bon? Girl, that's all you're going to get from me.
Okay, I loved it. I loved every minute.
Thank you both for being here, to have your voices, your stories be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you for that, especially to talk about a new Canadian movie, Rosie. First of all, well done. Well done. I think it's fair to say it's no easy task to get a feature-length film made, let alone in Canada. So hats off. So Gail, you wrote this movie, you directed this movie. Talk to me about the story that you're telling in Rosie. What's this story all about?
I also produced it and co-produced. Melanie's my co-producer, and Jamie Manning as well. So the story for me is about love, resilience, strength, and chosen family. But it's also about the undercurrent and the repercussions of what the effects are of the 60 scoop, because Rosie's mom was a product of the 60 scoop, and it's people today, and I also have siblings that were taken away from my mother's breast, ripped from my mother's breast without her consent. And it's for those fighters out there that are doing the best they can, even if they'll never, they were, the choice of finding out who they are was taken away from them. So it's honoring their strength and their resilience and their, survival. And so Rosie is such a strong little girl. She's only 6 years old, and she changes the lives of Flo, Fred, and Mo. So the story to me is about strength, resilience, and chosen family.
Yeah. Well said. Melanie, you co-star in this. You co-produced Rosie. From your perspective, for yourself, this film is about what?
I mean, one of the big themes, Gail is, I always say what I really appreciate about her work and her writing is it's so full of symbolism and metaphor. And I mean, the theme here is really about sort of people that society sees as throwaways, misfits, miscreants. No, I don't even know what that word really means. But no, in all seriousness, people who are just on the fringes of society that people might think of as disposable. So we have all these beautiful themes of we like to say glitter in the garbage or treasure in the trash, for a little alliteration too. So, my character Fred makes art out of found objects, out of things people have thrown away. She makes, what she considers to be beauty out of it, makes art. She's inspired by it, and we sleep in a scrapyard at one point. But what,
in a Volkswagen?
In an old Volkswagen, yeah. And Fred feels like, oh, okay, this might be a low moment, but for Rosie, the child, who, she sees it as this amazing place. And I don't know if you can quite see it on film, but I mean, the whole ground glitters from all the broken glass from all the cars. So again, there's glitter in this scrappy, strange place. So It's about basically the beauty in everyone. And, you know, yes, we're all flawed, but we also have something to offer.
Mm-hmm. Gail, this movie is set in the 80s in Montreal. Why that location? Why that time frame?
So the 80s was a time when I came out. I left my village in northern Saskatchewan, the population 700, so I was not exposed to gay culture or anyone who was gay. So I didn't really know that I was gay. I had never been with a boy. And so, but I just didn't want to be. And I was wondering, you know, what's wrong with me? Because all my girlfriends were like having all these boyfriends, and I didn't care. And then I went to Saskatoon, and all of a sudden, I started hearing gay. Oh, that guy's gay, and I go, ooh. I wonder. So then I approached him. I said, I think I might be bisexual. You know, it's like, even though I'd never been with that guy. But so he took me to my very first gay bar, and we had to go down a dark alley, open up like doors and show number. It's called numbers, and we had ID and show numbers, and then they buzzed you in. And as soon as I got buzzed in, all of a sudden the music went, and my whole life is like,
your world opened up.
Yes, the world opened up, and I saw, oh my God, fuck, this is like what I've been waiting for all my life. This is why I couldn't go with men. It's like I saw all these beautiful people, all these, like, oh my God, like, and that's why I created like Rosie in the 80s, because to me, like, it's saturated, and the characters of Flo and Mo and Fred, they're so unabashedly themselves. They let their bodies hang, and their beautiful bodies hang. They let themselves, like, they just walk and strut the streets, and, you know, whatever life throws at them, they say, oh, is that all you got? Come on, give it to me. You know, whatever you throw at me, I'm gonna take it, and I'm gonna frickin' use that and survive and thrive. So that's why I wrote it in the 80s, because during that time I came out, and I was like, I was strong, and it's just like the whole world was such a beautiful, magical, brilliant place for me, and I placed it in Montreal because themes in my films are about identity, alienation, and family. So I wanted Rosie, who speaks English, to be in a place that she's isolated and more alone because she doesn't speak French. And then the characters, like her aunt and Flo and Mo, have accents, so it further alienates her. The signage is all French, so I wanted her to be thrust into this world that's so foreign to her, but at the same time it shows the resilience of a child and the resilience of human beings. But also, and I'm talking about all these things, but also I made a bilingual film. I don't speak French, so I was able to direct a film in French, but French is part of my language, which is Michif, so it's half Korean, half French. And not a lot of people in Canada, in the world, know about Michif and the Métis people. And there's only a little over 1,000 speakers in the world, and I'm one of them. So I wanted to be able to speak about that. And it's fluent in me, and my culture is alive in me. My language is part of who I am, and I wanted to express that French is part of my culture, it's part of my language, and there's always going to be Cree and Michif in my films as well. Yeah.
Well said.
Thank you.
Melanie, for yourself, how did you come on board with this project with Rosie?
It's all Gail's fault. Well, Gail and I are partners in life, like.
Okay.
So it's a personal and professional relationship. So it's sort of happened by accident. I mean, Gail, we're both actors, and then Gail obviously is a writer-director. I studied producing, so I knew a lot about behind the scenes, and I basically co-produced 2 of her short films with her. And initially it was like, I'm just going to help you out a little bit until you find a producer, and then I ended up just being her co-producer. So that was our first short, which is called Asini. And then we made a short version of Rosie. And again, it was like, she's like, well, I wrote you a part and you're not going to produce. And I was like, well, let's just get the ball rolling. And I want to be the casting director at least. And let me help you with this. Let me help. And the next thing you know, it's like, no, I'm co-producing this. So then that's what happened there. So, naturally when she wrote the feature, I still, I've been living and breathing this universe with her from the beginning, and I still wanted to have and be part of that creative process. So I was a co-producer on the feature as well.
Okay, so this next question is for the two of you. I don't know who wants to go first, but here's the question. And it's about the importance of diversity in film, maybe even Canadian film. I think that this movie has a diverse cast. You've got Métis characters, you've got LGBT characters. Gail, for yourself, why was it important to have a diverse cast in Rosie? Why was this important for you?
I didn't.
Or was it important?
Yeah.
Was it just the way that it naturally came about?
It's my world, and it's just those are the people that are in my world. So I wanted to.
The people in your neighborhood.
Yeah, the people in my neighborhood. It's the people around
that you meet when you're walking down the street.
Exactly, right? And it's like, it's my life. So I write from, we all write from a personal space, and there's a little bit of me in all my characters. Like Rosie represents me when I came out, and also the innocence and the wonder I saw the world in. And I didn't even think about it as a diverse cast. It just, I guess I walk in a world. I mean, our world is diverse, right? So it's just my world. Yeah.
And Melanie, for yourself, why was it important for you to be in a project like Rosie that, at least in my opinion, has a very diverse cast?
I'm glad to hear you say that. I had moments where when we were casting and I was a big part of that I almost thought it could be more diverse, and usually we're more deliberate about that. But it was really important for Gail, and we had a lot of conversations about this, that a lot of the people around Rosie are white, because she wanted that feeling of alienation and of different for Rosie. So that was an important theme. So that was something that I had to consider as a casting director. In general, I think as a white actor, as a white producer, I am those things, and I'm a huge champion of diversity in front of the camera as well as behind it. So I question my place within this world a lot. We definitely need more and more diversity in all facets of the industry. And I think it's really important as a white person, hey, all white people, to question if you're ever taking up space that doesn't belong to you, and where you fit into that.
Can I just add? I guess when we were casting, I said I want the three adults that she's thrust into the lives of to be white-skinned. But then the person who she feels so connected to as well is Jigger, who's one of my favorite characters. And he is the most grounded for me. That's why I shoot him symbolically sitting on the ground. And he has his culture inside of him. He has the most strength, and he's has knowledge that he passes on to her. And so that's part of the journey I wanted audiences to see, is that it doesn't matter who a person is. It's all about connection, and I wanted to have Rosie connect with this, with Jigger in a way that's going to help her grow. And what I love too is I can't say it because it'll spoil the ending where they all support her in learning her culture. Yeah.
Okay. So Gail, quote, "Fuck it. I'm going to make my own films, so I did."
Yeah.
Unquote. For yourself, when was that realization? When did you make that connection that I'm going to take the bull by the horns and tell my story my way?
I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've been acting first, and so I think at least like 20 years ago, it's like I told my agent I'm only auditioning for these roles. It's like everything is so stereotypical. I'm subservient to men. It's like no one can know. Even today, there's still all these stereotypes. We just came from in conversation with Viola Davis and Gina Prince Bythewood, and they're talking about that. They're talking about the stereotypes that they fight against, and that's what I was fighting against. I told my agent, I said, I don't want to audition for that role, and finally I thought, you know what, the only way I'm going to get a role that's not stereotypical is if I write it. And I said, fuck it, I'm going to start writing and directing my own shorts. So I directed 9 shorts, and then it's taken me this long to write, to do my first feature film. And so there's no stopping me now, and I'm, there's going to be, my language in my films. There's going to be beautiful, Indigenous, strong women. I did a film called Smudge once. It's a documentary, and it was all women. And then somebody it was at Sundance, and one of the audience members says, why are they all just women? And I didn't even realize, like I said, it's not on purpose. It's just, women to me are powerful, and this is, who I want to represent. But in thinking about Rosie, it's all female, and we had a very strong female crew, and mentorship with Indigenous mentees, trying to uplift each other and bring more Indigenous and BIPOC people into the community, film community. Yeah.
So I guess Rosie's on the film festival circuit now. Once that's done, what is the plan? What's the hope?
We hope, so we're doing the festival circuit. We'll do a theatrical. Right now we're looking for sales, for international sales. So if anyone's out there listening, we need an international sales agent. And it's going to be on APTN. And
excellent.
Yeah.
Super Channel Fuse.
Yeah.
Did you say that already? Sorry.
No, Super Channel.
Yeah. And then in cinemas across Canada and hopefully the world. And I keep saying that we want to be the Coda of 2023. We're going to be the little underdog, the indie film that captures everyone's heart and makes it big.
Yeah. You got to put it out there. You got to dream, and when you do. You have to put it out there in the universe.
Yeah.
The universe always gives back.
Speak it into existence.
Yeah.
My last question for the two of you: when audiences see Rosie, Gail, what do you hope audiences come away with once they've seen Rosie?
So we had our first screening last night, which was sold out, and most of the people that came up to me were like crying. And they said we cried, we laughed, and it's so poignant, it's so touching, it's so but it's so hopeful. And I guess I want people to take away exactly what they're feeling. Like it's the first time I watched it with Melanie, with an audience, and I was crying, and Melanie was crying, and the cast was crying. But it's about just I guess just to me, like, love is so important, and we've come through such a dark time with COVID and isolation and like not being together. I wanted to do a film that was like had hopeful, that wasn't so dark, and it was triumphant, and but also to show like just the importance of like holding each other up and caring for each other, like as a chosen family. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Melanie, for yourself, what do you hope audiences come away with once they've seen Rosie?
Yeah, for me, it's always as well to leave with a sense of hope, especially after the time we've had the past few years. I can't believe, like Gail said, how many people came up to us last night. I swear so many people said, I cried 5 times, I cried 6 times. But they did also laugh, and at the end of the day, just, feeling hopeful. And then I always say as well that, a lot of the Indigenous themes in the film might be a bit more subtle to some people, but I really hope it makes people curious. I'm a huge believer in for film being, yes, it's creative and it's entertaining, but I think it's a tool for social change, and that's, for me, the most important thing. So if you went and you were entertained and you cried and you laughed and you left feeling great, that's amazing. And if you left feeling curious about stuff and you want to learn more about it, and you go off and do that research, whether it's about the 60s scoop or whatever else happening in the film, then I think we've done a good job.
Well said, well said. Melanie, Gail, thank you both for your time. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Hey, wow, là. Minute, le petit tigre. Non, qu'est-ce que tu fais là? Hey, ralentis, le petit tigre, là, tu vas faire mal à quelqu'un. Hey. C'est correct, ma grande? Y a personne qui va te faire mal ici, hein? You speak français?
You have big hands.
Oh, my God.
God? Who's ça?
My name is Fred.
That's a boy's name.
Quand t'as des grosses couilles? My name is Frédéric, but mes amis, they call me Fred. You call me Fred.
Fred's still a boy's name, and why are they so big?
Ouais, c'est un petit chaton vigoureux, ça. We are very special women with big hands.
Bon, parfait. Là, c'est Papy.
C'est Papy est quoi, un chien?
C'est mieux qu'elle soit avec vous. Vous êtes la parenté. Your auntie is so excited to take you home.
Non.
By the way, keep your eyes and ears peeled for Rosie later on in 2022 and 2023 when it comes to a screen near you.
Hi, everyone. This is Mark Tewksbury, Olympic champion, leader, humanitarian. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
The People's Joker, an illegal queer coming-of-age comic book movie. Up next, it's Emmy-nominated filmmaker Vera Drew.
Where are you? Back in Arkham.
Some people call me the space cowboy.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about how you've been feeling lately?
Was I born in the wrong body?
What do you see?
Some call me the gangster of love.
Crane. Hush, little one. You'll be Mama's happy little boy in no time.
As far back as I could remember, I always wanted to be a Joker.
How are you settling into the city?
Things are great. I've met a ton of great people, ton of friends.
Have you found work?
I'm pursuing a career in stand-up comedy.
I'm gonna be a comedian!
Hey, screw you, Bane.
Here's a pro tip. A lot of good comedy comes from stuff that actually happens to you. It gets good laughs.
I always thought my life was kind of a tragedy.
You were mentally ill. I got you help.
You were mentally ill. I'm mentally ill. You were mentally ill.
And, it is.
Let's give a warm round of applause for Joker the Harlequin.
Not shadow band short ribs.
I'm not going to teach you how to be funny today. I'm going to teach you how to be honest.
Vera, hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I Well, I have to say thank you for being here, to have your voice, your story be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you for that, especially to talk about The People's Joker, an illegal queer coming of age comic book movie, a movie that you wrote, you directed. Talk to me about the story that you're telling within this movie. What's the story that you're telling in The People's Joker?
Sure. Yeah. It's, the movie's very autobiographical. It's about, the log line is it's about an unfunny transgender clown, who, is named Joker and is addicted to a drug called Smilex. And she, finds herself and finds love all while, starting an illegal comedy theater in Gotham City and facing off against a familiar Caped Crusader. So that's kind of the surface level synopsis, but within that it really is kind of like this autobiographical story for me, very loosely based off of my experiences as a trans woman working in comedy and coming from the Midwest and all that stuff. Kind of taking all these characters that I definitely don't own any of the rights to. I'm not sure how this movie's playing at TIFF, but it is. So they can't take it back now. But yeah, really transposing my experience onto them.
So to me, this movie is a multimedia experience. You have live action, you have animation, you have music. So what inspired you to make The People's Joker? Where did the idea, the concept for this movie come from?
It was something I was kicking around. I had a version of this a few years ago that was really just a handful of journals that I had written, kind of processing the last decade of my life. I jokingly say that I'm the transgender Forrest Gump of alternative comedy, just because I've been involved or have worked on a lot of really amazing, groundbreaking comedy television in the last 10 years. I've been really lucky. I worked on Nathan For You and Eric Andre, and I came up under Tim and Eric and worked with Sacha Baron Cohen and stuff. And I've really been around and have been really fortunate to work with a lot of cool people. I needed to really just needed to kind of reflect on all that in a lot of ways. So I knew I wanted to make I don't know that I was necessarily gearing up to make my first film, but I was gearing up to make a pretty long-term project that was going to be about comedy, gender, and confronting ancestral trauma and where that all kind of can intersect. And it was right at the start of the pandemic. My friend Bree dared me to re-edit Todd Phillips' Joker. Well, it wasn't a dare. She commissioned it, actually. It was an art commission. It was the only time I've ever gotten an art commission, which made me feel special, but it is my friend, so maybe it doesn't really count. But that's where the project really stemmed from then, is, I was really earnestly trying to make, at first, an experimental found footage film that was going to use Batman Forever and Joker 2019 and sort of use all that footage to tell a new story. And I don't know what I was going to do, but it was impossible, and it was going to require me using a lot of footage that I didn't own the rights to. So, yeah, I sat down with Bree, and I kind of was I really actually think I want to do this. I'm sitting here adding fart sound effects to Joaquin Phoenix and kind of realizing that, maybe I do think of Joker and Harley Quinn and Batman and stuff as mythic characters that you can kind of really genuinely explore queer themes and themes of identity in. And Bree was totally on board because, like me, the pandemic had just started. We were both unemployed, didn't know what to do. So yeah, that was really also that was all to say where the mixed media approach came in was we wrote this script, and what we wrote is basically what we shot. There was a handful of improv and stuff we found along the way.
Did you do the animation in the movie?
What's that?
Did you do the animation in the movie?
That's what I was getting at. Is like I did some of it. Like, but if we really we opened up the creative process to anybody that wanted to participate. And I had a web series at the time called Hot Topics that I announced this on. And it was like the only time, and I mean, we didn't go like crazy viral, but I went like soft viral. And, you know, we just put this message out there that was like, if, you know, we're making a queer Joker movie, and we need artists and animators and filmmakers who like want to contribute. If you just want to make like a cool, fun, weird Batman movie with us, hit us up. And we had the most overwhelming response I could have ever imagined. Like it's crazy. Like over 200 people were just interested in working on it. And that's like about how many we ended up working with from all over the world. Artists and animators and illustrators and musicians and, you know, and from all different disciplines. You know, like I wear a lot of hats. Like I do VFX and like I come from animation too. Like it's what I studied, but every discipline is in this movie. We have stop motion and 3D environments and 2D hand drawn. You know, like it really, the list goes on, and
it's a multimedia experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you just said you have a background in visual effects and animation, in film production, in music video production. How did you get into film in the first place?
It's, you know, I don't know, because I've wanted to make movies since I was like awake, you know, like since I could remember, like for as long as I could remember, I wanted to make movies. I knew I was a filmmaker before I knew I was a girl. I came into, this is my first feature film, but I almost feel like I came into my identity as a filmmaker and as just an artist in general before ever really figuring out who the fuck I was. And like, I look back at a body of work that is pretty niche, and pretty like weird but like cool. And there's like stuff in there where I watch it now and I'm like, God, I'm so trans. I am so trans. I am so gay. And like, it was all there. It was all there in my art. In my art was very like aggressively queer. But I didn't have that language for myself, and I also just wasn't comfortable with it. So, you know, like film, you know, I grew up in the Midwest. So, and being as gay and as trans as I am, it was only inevitable that I become an artist. Like it really is. Like, I don't know that I really discovered filmmaking or anything. It really was just like, you know, my parents had a video camera. It was there and I needed to survive. And the only place where I really knew how to like safely explore myself growing up was holding a video camera or doing sketch comedy and improv or drag. But, yeah.
And now here we are in 2022 with your debut feature, The People's Joker. Yeah. Okay. 2018, you received an Emmy nomination for your editing work on Showtime's Who is America?
Yes.
Talk to me about what went through your mind the moment you found out that you got an Emmy nomination, 2018. The moment you got that notification, what goes through your mind?
I found out actually like the morning, it was either like the day after or the morning of. It was like basically like a day after I had gotten like surgery. I Adam's apple shaved down. And so like I got a notification and somebody sent me an article saying that we got nominated. And I didn't believe it for like 48 hours. I just thought I was in some sort of weird like post anesthesia delusion or something. Because I don't know. I mean, it's the same way I feel about getting into TIFF. Like I was just talking to Bree about it. Like it feels like we snuck in or something. Like it's like I don't know. Like I'm from the middle of nowhere, raised by two people that you've never heard of, and like I just never thought of people like me getting to go to like Emmys or film festivals and stuff. And yeah, it was sick. I mean, like, I would have loved to have won, but like even not winning was kind of cool because, like, you know, we didn't win, so we didn't have to speak. But
you got nominated.
Yeah, we got nominated, and then we got to just dance and like have fun in like an open bar. Like it was one of the few times like working in this industry too that I really did feel like, ooh, like Hollywood, you know, like normally I'm just like,
and you were seen, you were seen, and I think that's the most important aspect.
Yeah, and it really was. It was my first time because my name change coincided with my Emmy nomination, and it was like kind of this moment of like really like, okay, this is who I am. Like, I'm not that like shy, weird, sweaty boy that's just sitting in the editing bay. I'm a beautiful goth princess who gets nominated for Emmys.
I have 2 questions left for you, and just a handful of minutes. You are part of the LGBT community. You are trans. I believe you came out in your early 20s. Talk to me about what led you to come out in your early 20s.
I actually came out when I was 28. And really it was just...
That's early-ish.
Yeah, it's early-ish. You know what? The lead up to that, my 20s felt so long, by the way. Like, it was a dark time for me. Like, I was, you know, my movie talks about it, you know, pretty metaphorically, but like I had a drug problem that was pretty rough, and like I was not a happy person. And it's weird because like coming out really wasn't like I didn't have like a big moment of realization. It really was just I had tried on every single identity at that point. Like I had really tried everything, and I had done, you know, I was prescribed and medicated crazy drugs and like diagnosis, everything under the sun. And like, it really was just kind of like, I ruled out every other possibility. And it was just like, oh, I'm trans. And, yeah, I mean, like, I didn't really have the support system around me when it started. And I think, you know, that's pretty clear from the movie. Like, I didn't really have, but I think none of us really do. I do think, like, on some level, the coming out process is a death for queer people, and you do experience loss no matter what. And it for me, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It really it helped me kind of recalibrate and move towards just the things that allow me to be authentic. I don't know. Was that a good answer? I never know how to answer.
Yes. Okay, so my last question for you. Yeah. The People's Joker, live action, animation, music. There's even an animated erotic scene in the movie.
Yeah.
What do you hope audiences come away with after they've seen your debut feature, The People's Joker?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a tough question because like I never really set out to like, the movie doesn't have like a one message beyond just like be yourself, you know. Like I really do feel like the movie is kind of simple in a lot of ways, where like it really is just about being true to yourself and leaning into authenticity and pushing through fear, because on the other side of fear there usually is authenticity and love and stuff. And you know, I hope people can take that away from it. I hope people can see that like the trans experience goes beyond just like fucking conservative talking points, and like also goes beyond like just woke scolding, and you know, like it's very unique. There's not a one size fits all approach to any queer person's life. But within that specificity, I hope people can see that, like, you know, my experience growing up and figuring out who I was isn't that different than you know, a cis person's. And I hope people too can see like genre films, you know, are a place where you can explore these things. Like if we are just now living in a culture where all we make are superhero movies, like, we can make superhero movies like this. Like, you can make soft, queer superhero movies. Like, anybody can do it, and like genre is the perfect place actually to unpack themes, because genre allows you to really utilize fiction and myth to its fullest potential.
Well said, well said. Vera Drew, I have to say thank you so much for your time. Well said, well done, and well made.
Thank you, Mark.
I will say this. There is no such thing as bad publicity, because in my humble opinion, I do believe that the People's Joker is actually faring better now because of this controversy, had it just had its natural run at TIFF. And if you want to keep up to date with this film and its filmmaker, simply visit veradrew.com.
Hi, I'm Saida Garrett, co-writer of Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mr. Mark Tara.
Up next, the sounds of Festival Street.
Very special evening for me.
This is why we do what we do, you know.
I love this festival and it's an honor to be back.
Behind me is what we call society, what we see in our everyday, and what we have on screen. Let's keep on doing movies about us. We're making pictures about what's happening today in society. Thank you for coming.
Hi, what's your name?
Martine Tapascio.
And, okay, first of all, are you from Toronto?
No, I'm from Barrie.
Barrie, Ontario. You're here for TIFF?
Yes.
Have you seen any films?
Any of the films here today? No, not yet.
What are you hoping to see today on King Street?
I'm hoping to see, I guess, the actors around here, like especially for The Glass Onion.
Okay, maybe like, what, Daniel Craig, I think, is in it?
Yeah, Daniel Craig, Janelle Monáe, anyone else who's here too, but I love those two the most today, so yeah.
Well said. Last question for you. For yourself, what does TIFF mean to you?
A festival where movies from, I guess, all around the world get to be shown to the people of Toronto before anybody else.
Well said, well said. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, no problem. Thank you for the interview.
Hello, what's your name?
Jason.
Jason, where are you from?
I'm from Scarborough.
From Scarborough. And so what brings you to downtown Toronto today?
Oh, we always follow TIFF, especially when my wife influences me to go there for TIFF, right? So, and I love taking pictures and videos, so I'm here right now.
Okay, and who are you hoping to see today?
Oh, I'm hoping to see Janelle Monáe and Edward Norton and reunite again with Daniel Craig, because last 2019 I saw him here also at TIFF.
In 2019, how long have you been coming to TIFF?
Oh, start 2011. Yes.
This is my 5th year.
Yeah. Okay, for us, and then 2019 has a big hype of the TIFF, and then you're planning ahead of next year, and then suddenly pandemic happened, right? So it's okay. Now we are happy we're back. So
we're back in person in 2022. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hello, what's your name?
My name is Jing.
Hello, and what brings you to King Street on a beautiful sunny day like today?
Well, I'm here to finally get to see the cast of Knives Out, or aka Knives Out sequel, because last time I was here, I had to choose between them and Tom Hanks, so that's why I'm making up for it. That's why I'm here.
Okay, so are you hoping to see, like, Daniel Craig?
Daniel Craig, Rian Johnson, Catherine Hahn, basically anyone, everyone, hopefully they all show up.
How long have you been coming to TIFF?
I've been doing this since 2015.
2015. Wow, that's longer than me. I started in 2018 covering TIFF.
Wow, impressive. But then pandemic happened, and then everybody had to be away for 2 years, so good to be back.
For yourself, what does TIFF mean to you?
Just a chance to enjoy the atmosphere, trying to catch a movie, emerging filmmakers for myself personally, because I'm trying to pay attention to what's coming up in the local atmosphere, not just as much as I would love to join also the Hollywood stuff, but I'm all about the local stuff as well. So,
Well said. Well said. Thank you for your time.
no worries. Enjoy TIFF.
Hi, what's your name?
My name's Kathy.
Hello, Kathy. What are you here on King Street for? Why are you here?
I am here standing in line with my daughter. I have a ticket for Causeway, the premiere, which I'm very excited to see. My daughter was not able to get a ticket, so I'm standing in the rush line for her where she's hoping to get a ticket.
Okay, so TIFF 2022, we're back, we're in person after 2 years of a pandemic. How are you feeling about that?
I am really excited. This is my first film festival. My daughter is in the film industry. She has a company that does events and premieres, and she invited me. So I love movies. I am so excited. I've already seen a number of phenomenal movies, and I have a number of phenomenal movies lined up to see in the next couple days. So before I go back to my real life, I'm just thrilled to be here.
Any movies that you've seen so far stand out to you that have made an impression on you? Anything comes to mind?
Yes, we saw Emily, phenomenal. I know a little bit about Emily Bronte's story, but learned a lot more. Very interesting. Saw The Woman King, and just powerhouse action dynamic. Saw Bros, and Bros is a phenomenal movie. You will laugh, you will cry, and I'll recommend everything I've seen so far.
Last question for you. What does TIFF mean to you?
TIFF means an opportunity for people to come together, celebrate films, and for people in the film industry to showcase their talent, a place for new emerging filmmakers to come and make a name for themselves, people that wouldn't be known to get picked up by other studios. It's just a phenomenal opportunity for anyone who loves film, works in film, or is interested in film.
Amazing. Well said. Well done. Thanks for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
By the way, to keep up to date with all things TIFF all year round, simply visit tiff.net.
I'm so grateful to be here this evening.
I'm extremely excited to be here. Thank you all for holy shit. There's a lot of y'all.
I'm very proud to be here tonight, and I'm so grateful that you joined us.
Don't stop till you get enough.
Hello, Toronto! Happy Halloween, Michael.
Muchas gracias. Toronto, the best of them all.
If you ever film a big face to watch films, it's different.
I want to thank Toronto because you have always honored, celebrated, exalted female directors.
The warmth and the love that you gave me is something I will never forget in my life.
So exciting to be here at Toronto in this gorgeous theater.
This feels like Christmas Day.
Thanks to you for coming.
This is truly a very special evening for me.
This is why we do what we do, you know?
I love this festival and it's an honor to be back.
Behind me is what we call society, what we see in our every day, and what we have on screen. Let's keep on doing movies about us. We're making pictures about what's happening today in society. Thank you for coming.
Bill 7, to ban discrimination in employment, government services, and housing, based on a person's sexual orientation, was up for a vote at Queen's Park. Most NDP and Liberal MPPs supported the bill, but without some progressive Conservative legislators backing, a divisive split could rack the province. 4 PCs decided to break party ranks to vote with their conscience and support Bill 7. Cabinet Minister and MPP Dennis Timbrell did it to show solidarity for his beloved brother, the well-known drag queen Rusty Ryan. And for me, a gay politician who was not yet out, I had to take a stand. We were known as the Gang of Four. I'm former Cabinet Minister and MPP Phil Gillies. The date, December 2nd, 1986, when LGBT rights came to Ontario.
And just like that, this little gay journey through Rainbow Country has come to an end. For the full 2-hour episode, just head over to marktara.com where everything is connected and hit the archives banner. To keep up to date with the show, check out my socials at Mark Tara. The podcast is available on all major platforms, including audible.com and iHeartRadio. And finally, I want to take this time to thank you for taking your time to be with me. Remember, we are living in days of making dreams come true, so believe in yourself, and the world will believe in you.
Hi, this is Police Constable Danielle Botno, also known as LGBT Cop, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.